the most beautiful house in Canada. In 1705, Claude de Ramezay, the newly appointed Governor of Montreal, embarked on a mission to erect a residence that would befit his esteemed social stature. Perched atop a hill overlooking the quaint fortified town, he envisioned a dwelling that would stand apart from the predominantly wooden structures of the era. His vision materialized into an imposing stone edifice that, right from its inception, bore the title of the Château, the customary designation for a governor's abode. Governor Ramezay took immense pride in his creation, even writing to King Louis XIV, asserting that he had constructed the most splendid house in Canada. Spanning nearly 4,000 square meters of land, the property encompassed expansive gardens and orchards. Following Governor Ramezay's passing in 1724, the chateau assumed various roles. It hosted illustrious historical figures and silently witnessed pivotal chapters of our history. Initially, Madame de Ramezay rented the chateau to Gilles Hocquart, the Intendant of New France, who made it his residence in Montreal. After her demise in 1742, her heirs sold the building to the Compagnie des Indes, a fur trading monopoly. It transformed into the company's headquarters, and the residence of its chief agent. In 1756, the company expanded the chateau to its present-day size. In 1764, the chateau came under the ownership of merchant William Grant. By 1773, he had rented it to the British government, transforming it into the governor's residence. Ultimately, the British acquired it in 1778. The Château Ramezay, symbol of power. During the American Continental Army's occupation of Montreal from November 1775 to June 1776, the chateau emerged as the emblem of authority and served as their headquarters. Distinguished figures such as General Richard Montgomery, Benedict Arnold, and Benjamin Franklin crossed its threshold. Over the years, numerous governors and high-ranking British officials graced its halls until 1849, when Governor-General Lord Elgin marked the last chapter of their occupancy. That year, rioters set fire to the Parliament of the United Province of Canada, and Montreal relinquished its capital status. This pivotal event signaled a new era for the chateau, leading to its diversified utilization. The District of Montreal's courthouse inhabited the premises until 1855, during the construction of a new courthouse, now known as the Old Courthouse. Subsequently, the government of Quebec's Board of Education, later becoming the Conseil de l'Instruction Publique, took ownership of the chateau in 1856 under the leadership of Pierre-Joseph Olivier Chauveau. The following year, the École Normale Jacques Cartier was established on the premises. Starting in 1879, the Faculty of Medicine of Laval University in Montreal, and later, the Faculty of Law in 1882, conducted courses at the chateau, which continued until 1889. The Court of Magistrates temporarily occupied the chateau from 1889 to 1892 during the expansion of the nearby courthouse. Preserving our heritage and creating a museum, Montrealers get involved. The Antiquarian and Numismatic Society of Montreal entered the narrative during this juncture. Established in 1862 by a diverse group of Montrealers, this learned society shared a common passion for our heritage, dedicating themselves to its study, conservation, and promotion. Typical of such organizations, they convened to deliberate their interests, host lectures, publish the Canadian Antiquarian and Numismatic Journal, amass a collection, and organize exhibitions. They even formed an advocacy group advocating for the preservation of threatened historic sites. In 1892, to celebrate Montreal's 250th anniversary, they installed the first commemorative plaques at the city's historic sites and buildings. A year earlier, they had initiated a committee to safeguard the Château Ramezay by transforming it into a historical museum and library. Despite their tireless efforts, the government of Quebec, then the owner of the chateau, contemplated divesting itself of the aged structure. In the spring of 1893, they announced the chateau's imminent auction on October 24. Fearing government apathy would lead to the chateau's demolition and sale to developers, the antiquarian society turned to public sentiment. On October 17, they rallied a crowd of citizens, culminating in a special city council meeting on October 23, the eve of the auction. A petition, endorsed by 2,000 individuals, was presented. The society persuaded the city of Montreal to purchase the chateau under the condition that they would convert it into a museum and library. George Haig, a member of the society, articulated this vision during the meeting, and his words, as quoted by a journalist, resonate with the society's aspirations. The building could be made the repository of those mementos which develop a patriotic spirit in the coming generation that would be of great good to the country as a whole. He hoped that in some way or other the property would be secured, and it would become the center of a historical museum which would be the pride of Montreal. The proposal garnered the city's endorsement, resulting in its acquisition of the old chateau, thus rescuing this precious edifice at the 11th hour. The society proceeded as planned, and on May 1, 1895, the chateau opened its doors to the public as a historical museum, national portrait gallery, and public library. The institution was formally inaugurated on April 9, 1896, in a grand event attended by Montreal's eminent citizens. La Presse aptly reported, Montreal's most distinguished citizens gathered last night at the old Château Ramezay. Rarely have we seen a more glittering or splendid event. In 1929, the Society acquired full ownership of the chateau in exchange for 10,000 books from its library, forming the foundation of the Grand Bibliothèque's collection. This same year, the chateau was honored to be classified as a historic monument by the Commission des Monuments Historiques du Québec. Unquestionably, various renovations were carried out during the 20th century, with notable additions including a conically roofed tower extension in 1903, the removal of stucco exterior and copper roof replacement in 1954, the installation of 18th-century mahogany paneling in the Salle de Nantes in 1976, and the replacement of the copper roofing with a Canadian-style tinned copper roof in 1997, with the reinstallation of a rear gallery in 2012. In June 2000, the chateau's immediate surroundings transformed with the inauguration of the Governor's Garden. This meticulously designed garden mirrors the typical 18th-century urban gardens of New France, invoking the aesthetics and functionality of a bygone era. Today? And tomorrow? Today, the Antiquarian and Numismatic Society of Montreal, a non-profit organization, retains chateau ownership and a collection exceeding 30,000 objects amassed over the years. It administers the museum, supported by a dedicated team of over 100 volunteers. The Quebec government has bestowed the institution with certified museum/musée agree status. It is one of the oldest in the province and one of Canada's most venerable institutions. Recognized by a team of experts in collaboration with UNESCO as one of the 1001 historic sites to be seen in one's lifetime, it has been named one of Quebec's must-see museums by Tourism Quebec. Today, within the heart of Old Montreal, stands an extraordinary testament to our past, animated by the efforts of Montrealers whose collaborative endeavors continue safeguarding the spirit of this site and our community. 1685, French aristocrat Claude de Ramezay, 1657–1724, arrives in Canada as a lieutenant in the Troupes de la Marine. In 1690, he wedded Marie Charlotte Denise de la Ronde, 1668–1742, daughter of one of the colony's prominent families. 1704, Claude de Ramezay is appointed Governor of Montreal and acquires land on Rue Notre-Dame atop an incline above the fortified city. With 1,500 inhabitants and 200 houses, Montreal ranks as the second largest city in the colony. April 27, 1705, de Ramezay enlists Pierre Couturier, known as Le Bourguignon, a master mason and architect, to construct a 3-story house measuring 66 feet by 26 feet, 21 meters by 12 meters. The foundation walls boast a width of 3.5 feet, 1.1 meters, complemented by 4 chimneys. 1706, by spring, the house is completed, exuding allure with its plastered walls and sloping roof. Ramezay proudly regards it as the most splendid dwelling in Canada. Surrounding the house are an orchard, a garden, an icehouse, a stable, and a carriage shed. Governor Ramezay and his family made this their home until his passing in 1724. 1727, de Ramezay's widow leases the house to Gilles Hocquart, Intendant of the colony, who regularly uses it from 1730 until the property changes hands. 1745, inheriting the chateau upon their mother's death, the de Ramezay children sell it to the Compagnie des Indes, which designates it as their colony headquarters. Rue Saint-Claude is established between the chateau and the home of Jean-Baptiste Nicolas Roch, de Ramezay's son. 1756, in response to a fire, the Compagnie des Indes enlarges the building, attaining its current dimensions. 1764, post the British conquest, Montreal merchant William Grant purchases the property for his business. 1773, Grant rents the premises to the British government, officially becoming the governmental residence for the province of Quebec. 1775, the Château Ramezay is the headquarters for the American Revolutionary Army, which invades Montreal. Notable figures such as Richard Montgomery, Benedict Arnold, Benjamin Franklin, Samuel Chase, and Charles Carroll occupy its rooms. The American forces vacated in June 1776 upon the arrival of British reinforcements. 1778, the British government intermittently employs the property as the Governor-General of the colony's residence. Sir Guy Carleton, the first Lord Dorchester, resided here in 1793, followed by George Prevost in 1813-14, Matthew Whitworth Aylmer in 1831-32, and James Bruce, Lord Elgin, used it as his office from 1847 until the Parliament's burning in 1849. 1848, a brick wing is added to the east side of the chateau to accommodate the governor's administrative needs. 1849, the courthouse relocates to the Château Ramezay until the inauguration of the new courthouse in 1856. April 25, 1849, the Parliament of the United Province of Canada is set ablaze by Tories protesting a law compensating the inhabitants of Lower Canada for their losses during the Rebellion of 1837-38. With Montreal's loss of capital status to Toronto, alternating with Quebec City, the Château Ramezay is no longer employed as an official residence. 1856, the Ministère de l'Instruction Publique du Québec takes up residence in the château, subsequently joined by the École Normale Jacques Cartier in 1857, responsible for training lay teachers. In 1867, the ministry relocated to Quebec City. The school occupied the entire building and a new wing along Rue St. Claude until its relocation to Parc La Fontaine in 1878. 1862, the Antiquarian and Numismatic Society of Montreal was established by a group of history enthusiasts associated with the Montreal Historical Society. Emphasizing bilingualism and biculturalism, the Society's mission includes promoting numismatics and antiquarian research, establishing a collection of coins, medals, and antiquities, and conserving and enhancing Montreal's heritage. 1879, the Faculty of Medicine of Laval University in Montreal takes possession of the Château Ramezay, using the brick wing for courses. In 1882, the Faculty of Law also conducted classes here. Both faculties vacated the premises in 1889. 1887, the Antiquarian and Numismatic Society of Montreal celebrates its 25th anniversary with an exhibition showcasing historical portraits, prints, and artifacts accompanied by a catalogue of Quebec's history from its beginnings until 1840. 1891, in preparation for the 250th anniversary of Montreal's founding, the Society places 75 historic plaques at buildings and locations pivotal to Montreal's history. Concurrently, they formed a committee to save the threatened Château Ramezay. Members rally support, appealing to the government of Quebec, its owner, and municipal authorities. 1892, marking Montreal's 250th founding anniversary, the Society organizes a Canadian antiques exhibition at the provincial exhibition site. This exhibit includes portraits, indigenous relics, plans, documents, autographs, seals, Canadian books, printed material, medals and coins, silver, porcelain, flags, arms, uniforms, and costumes dating back to the French regime. 1893, as the Quebec government prepares to auction the chateau, it faces the risk of demolition. The Antiquarian and Numismatic Society pressures authorities, persuading the city of Montreal to acquire and preserve the building. In return, they commit to establishing a history museum on the premises. May 1, 1895, the museum opens its doors to the public. April 9, 1896, the History Museum, National Portrait Gallery, and Public Library are officially inaugurated and attended by Montreal society. 1903, the building's brick wing on the east side undergoes partial demolition. The remaining branch is embellished with towers at each extremity. 1929, the Antiquarian and Numismatic Society acquires full ownership of the Château Ramezay in exchange for donating 10,000 books to the municipal library. Simultaneously, the chateau earns the distinction of being Quebec's first building classified as a historical monument by the Commission de Monuments Historiques du Québec. 1932, despite opposition from the Antiquarian and Numismatic Society, the Gosford Tunnel is constructed beneath the chateau. 1949, Château Ramezay India House is designated a National Historic Site of Canada by the Historic Sites and Monuments Board of Canada. 1956, a multi-story parking garage is constructed west and south of the Château Ramezay. 1978, the museum receives accreditation from the Ministère des Affaires Culturelles du Québec. 1997, the parking garage on Place de la Dauversière, present since 1956, is demolished and converted into a public space. Simultaneously, the Gosford Tunnel is closed. 2000, the Governor's Garden, situated behind the Château Ramezay, was inaugurated in June. This meticulously designed garden, occupying 750 square meters of the original 4,200 square meter property, reflects a French-style garden reminiscent of Governor Ramezay's era. It includes an orchard, a vegetable garden, and an ornamental garden. 2010, the Château Ramezay, Historic Site and Museum of Montreal is included in the 1001 Sites to See in Your Lifetime list. 2012, the Antiquarian and Numismatic Society of Montreal, comprised of individuals from diverse walks of life, celebrates its 150th anniversary.